And I make the client services and the intake team right down to the receptionist have a quick daily huddle. I call it yesterday's news. They stand up, they dissect every single phone call, every lead that came in there, whether it came from referral source, community outreach, paid traffic, past clients, what have you, and analyze it and then really follow the life cycle of the leads and find the superstar winners.
I'm Sylvie Garibaldi, founder and CEO of a well-established marketing training and done-for-you services company, tailored specifically for the modern legal and financial professional worldwide. While it's taken some trial and error to figure out which methods get the best results for professionals who are looking to grow their practices, fast forward to today, my team and I have nailed down and perfected a process that has helped so many of our clients consistently achieve outstanding results and create a legacy for their practices. I created the Serve First, Sell Later marketing podcast to give you simple, actionable, non-salesy, and results-driven marketing to grow your legal or financial practice like so many of our clients have. If you're a lawyer, mediator, financial, or divorce professional who is looking to become highly visible and wants to create a practice that makes an impact, then you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 53 of the Serve First, Sell Later marketing podcast. And in this episode, I'm super excited to speak with Molly McGrath, who is a powerhouse in the legal industry when it comes to recruiting, hiring, training, and developing exceptional talent. And Molly is not only a highly respected expert, but also an author of several books and the host of Top 10% podcast. And what truly impressed me about this conversation and why you absolutely need to tune in is Molly's ability to bridge the gap between attorneys and their teams in a way that fosters collaboration, growth, and incredible results. And her unique perspective on empowering legal professionals to build thriving, people-driven practices really aligns so perfectly with our mission here at SG and Associates. So if you're ready to rethink your approach to hiring and hear game-changing insights on building an unstoppable team, this episode is for you. Let's dive in. Welcome, Molly. So excited to have you on the show today. And first off, thank you for being here and taking the time to share your knowledge with our listeners. I know that you are a highly respected expert in helping law firms recruit, hire, train, and develop exceptional talent. And you've also written several books and have a podcast as well. So thank you for being here and thank you for doing what you do.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited for our conversation today.
Awesome. And I'm genuinely intrigued with the work that you do. And you and I have had this conversation before because it aligns perfectly with our mission at SG and Associates, which is helping legal professionals grow their practices using proven marketing strategies. So I'm really excited to dive into today's conversation with you. And I think the best place for us to start would be by having you share your journey in the legal industry and what really inspired you to create hiring and empowering solutions.
Oh gosh, when most people, when you ask them their backstory, they're like, well, the industry kind of found me. And that's really true for me. When I moved from Buffalo, New York to Denver, Colorado, back then, the only way to apply for a job was through paper classified ads. And I had just moved and applied for a job at an organization called National Network of Estate Planning Attorneys and got hired right on the spot to become an administrative assistant for their practice development teams. Their attorneys who would give back and coach other of their membership clients. And it's interesting because thankfully, I knew nothing about attorneys. I had never been involved with the law at that point. Only the things I heard on TV, right? They're money hungry, they're arrogant, they have a heart of a cinder block, they're rough, tough, all the things intimidating. And it couldn't be further than the truth. So at the point, I wanted a job. And my first assignment was to go to their biannual conference. So there's attorneys and their team members from all over the country at this conference. My job is to be customer service, make sure they feel welcome. And at the cocktail parties, at the breakfast breaks, you would mingle and say, tell me a little bit about your practice. What's working? What's not working? And the attorneys would say, oh, business would be great, but for employees. And then you turn to the right and you talk to the employees and you're like, tell me a little about what do you love about your job? What have you? And they would say, surprisingly, I would love my job if only my attorney would give up control and delegate more to me. They're not giving me enough to do. I can make a difference. I'm like, wow, there's a massive disconnect here. They both want the same thing, but they're not speaking the same language. And, so immediately I fell in love with the industry, realizing they're human beings, first and foremost. They have the exact same problem, regardless of industry, that we all do around communication, getting buy-in, all the things. And through that, I went to my boss at the time and I said, listen, we have this coaching program for these attorneys. Now, this is back in 1997, where coaching was not a household term by and large, and especially with attorneys, all their dollars, hours, and energy would go into CLE and crafting their technical legal skill set versus the coaching and consultative side of things. And so I went to him and said, I went to that conference, I talked to all these employees, talked to the attorneys, and I see a massive need and a massive gap to really pour into the employees, right? What is the greatest asset in any business? Our people. As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you know this more than anything with marketing, we're not made to do it alone. We need our people to be empowered, excited, emboldened, invested. And so I went to my boss at the time after being in my company for about 90 days and said, can I start a coaching program for these team members? He's like, sure, see how it goes. We go to the next conference and I have a line out the door of people wanting to come in. And it's really interesting because the attorneys would walk them to the room and to the conference room, and then they'd be like, have their ear to the door trying to listen what I'm trying to teach them and tell them. It's really cute. But, that was where my passion came for truly the hiring and the empowering side of it. I started out with developing a program within my job at the time in the organization. It really grew some legs and there's a massive groundswell and I saw the need. So now you have these empowered teams, and I realized that sometimes the breakdown wasn't necessarily with their people, it was through their hiring process. So then I'm like, I really have to solve this problem from both sides at the onset on the hiring side of it, but then also from the day that they're hired to support them with their onboarding and consistent empowerment, and then ultimately retention.
Wow. So, what were some of the key things that you were teaching in the coaching sessions? I'm curious. What were like the biggest areas you think you had to really coach on as areas that needed attention?
First and foremost, of getting out of employee mindset and entitlement mindset. So the first assignment I gave all the employees where, they're like the attorneys are bottlenecks within the process. They don't delegate up, when it comes to marketing, of course, like we don't have enough leads or what have you, but they never have enough time to devote to marketing. They don't review the copy or the content that we're getting back from the agency, blah, blah, blah. And I said, here's your first assignment, gang. I want you to go back and I want you to shadow your attorney for a solid week. And this is going to be your training. I want you to sit in every client meeting, every marketing meeting, every speaking engagement. I want you to, every time they come out of a meeting and there's a line of people delegating problems back up to them. And it was interesting because they came back the next Monday. We were on a teleconference. Back then there was no Zoom. And they were all in tears because we had no idea. They never got to use the restroom all day. no food, no water. Anytime that they walked out of their office, people were constantly bombarding them with more problems and problems. And they really understood. I said, your job is to become their gatekeeper, to become their production cop, and to support them and hold them accountable to the things that they need to do, such as marketing, to be able to really serve in that visionary role and to grow the business. So I was teaching about communication, about perspective. I was teaching them about how to run their attorney's day, how to have not only have their back, but have their front. My goal was to train them on how to become a mind reader by and large, and to understand and really get inside their calendar, their tasks, their duties, and their secret list of visionary projects and ideas that they have, which are typically around marketing and growth, that I'm sure you hear this all the time, that nobody can seem to get to. And really, carving out that time and giving as much time, airtime and space and grace to marketing as you would a client appointment.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. Um, so knowing what you knew back then and, thinking about where we are today, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that law firms are facing today when it comes to exactly that, hiring, retaining, and empowering talent?
Yeah, first and foremost, hiring. So the hiring landscape has changed in every single industry. But in legal in particular, the unemployment rate is 0.43%. So the days of throwing an ad out on Indeed or ZipRecruiter or LinkedIn or what have you and getting flooded with resumes, whether they're qualified, unqualified, what have you, are over. It is crickets. If anybody's really a rock star, a difference maker, value creator, they're gainfully employed. And if they're not, they are unemployed for a hot minute, making a transition of some sort based on their family dynamics, or maybe the other law firm they're with is going out of business, shutting down, partnership breaking up. You're really sitting like at the mercy of personal situations and become an opportunist of wherever they're coming from and grabbing them as quick as possible. So hiring anymore is sales and marketing 100%. So the ads you put out there need to be written very much like a Facebook ad copy that you're trying to attract your ideal client. The old days of having, all these requirements you need and the qualifications and making it very one-sided are over. You have to write it. I always tell people almost like a match.com, like you're trying to land your forever, spouse or what have you ad, where it has to be engaging and it very much has to be just very much like marketing copy, intrigue someone enough to raise their hand and say, I'm interested in this. So it's creative disruption, very much like marketing in the hiring space. Hiring is 100% sales. So once you know that it's time to hire, and I say the second you feel that niggle, don't stuff it. Start actively working on it, because hiring right now is incredibly slow, unlike anything before. And having a dedicated person, whether you use a legal professional, a recruiter, or what have you, or you empower somebody inside your team to take the lead on this, because law firms typically have a very, very arduous, hard hiring process. Those days are over. Second you see a candidate, you have to pick up the phone. Now it's even moving more so. People don't answer their phone, they text. They don't even reply to these email messages. Technology and information and communication, as we all know, is ever evolving and changing. So the old ways of emailing and what have you don't work anymore. It text by and large. And so what I would say is, when you know it's time to hire, take action right away. Because I'll get phone calls every day like, oh, I've been putting this off. Don't put it off, because you're just expect that it's going to be a long process. And then having a dedicated person that's working on it. You want to talk to the person, engage with very much like you would with a lead. You pay all this money and time and energy and effort for marketing. You're not going to let a lead sit on your voicemail or sit in your inbox or sit in your DMs and not respond to them. We should be incredibly ruthless about time kills all deals. So any time that you have in between that, you're really running the risk of another rock star company getting to them first and putting them through the process. So speed, speed, speed. It's no longer, can you come in next Tuesday for an interview? Get in that Zoom room as quick as possible and figure out if they have the right energy, the right humanness, the right integrity, way beyond skill set, knowledge, and things of that nature, because it's usually the human stuff. We tend to interview from interview, skill set, experience, all that. We have to reverse engineer this because the reason people don't work out is typically the human being stuff, not the human doing stuff.
That makes total sense. So it's all about, taking action and using
Speed.
speed to bring in as many, qualified people as possible to start that interview process. I guess is a way to really get ahead of your competition too, because I guess there's demand and not enough supply.
Yeah, and being very creative and disruptive with your ad that you put out there. Another tip
Yeah,
I'll leave
absolutely.
really quick, just like marketing videos converting at the highest amount right now. You see this with shorts and reels and everything else. Same thing, the law firms that we're able to place for in this very insane tight market are the ones that use a video. So I have them make a video very much like they would for a marketing ad or a display ad, really selling their energy, their culture, and really talking about why your firm is the best firm for anybody to work at. And so we use that for our inbox strategy, and it's hands down. Most recruiters are incredibly lazy and are still adopting the old school practices. So, just like anything else, it's about creative disruption.
Yeah, and that's certainly disruptive for sure. I mean, it's not your normal way of recruiting, and it also demonstrates, like you said, the firm's ability to how they communicate, what their brand is, whether you can resonate with the firm itself. That's important as well. So I really like that idea of using video to build that communication strategy and marketing strategy around finding the right participants or the right talent for your firm. Now, in your experience, how does having the right team in place support a firm's marketing efforts and just general visibility, would you say? As
I think marketing starts right at when people say to me, "Oh, I need just a receptionist," or they outsource to a lot of these outbound agencies for their call centers and what have you. I think it's a massive disservice to do that. We really need to shift and realize it's not just intake, it's not just reception. They're part of your marketing team. So, in the firms that I work with, I make certain that the intake team and the receptionist and the legal assistants actually attend a portion of the marketing meeting where they are giving what I call yesterday's news. You know this better than anyone. You work so hard as a marketing agency or helping law firms drill down their strategy, and it's so solid. It is, tried, tested, proven, all that. And then we don't get any feedback or what have you, or we get the phone calls say they're all junk leads, not getting enough leads, or the copy's not converting, or whatever it might be, but we don't get the voice from the people that are answering the phone and processing the leads. And so I make my teams really be part of that because the marketing team should be incredibly excited to get their voice and their feedback in regards to that. They're like, it seems like that our targeting is, targeting baby boomers, let's just say, or what have you. Or maybe we do probate, but we're getting a ton of leads that are coming in for probate litigation. Our firm doesn't do litigation. We want to know that information in real time so we can make changes versus most law firms just look at their marketing analytics and their reports and dashboards at the end of the month, or even worse, at the end of the quarter. And I make the client services and the intake team right down to the receptionist, have a quick daily huddle. I call it yesterday's news. They stand up, they dissect every single phone call, every lead that came in there, whether it came from referral source, community outreach, paid traffic, past clients, what have you, and analyze it and then really follow the life cycle of the leads and find the superstar winners or what have you and get that information back to double down, especially with referral marketing in this day and age. It breaks my heart. So many people gloss over that anymore. And the firms that I work with that really pour into their community outreach and their power partners right in their marketplace and their community are seeing a heck of a ROI on more of that wholesale organic approach versus even paid traffic. And that's an ideal recipe, I think.
Yes, absolutely. And I love the idea of training staff to really analyze what's coming in from a lead perspective. How do we improve this? How do we make this better? And by involving, many different levels in the firm in the marketing process, just really builds the talent to really grow from a marketing perspective and really start attracting also the right types of not only clients, but part of what you're doing as well is attracting the right talent and using the inside team to develop those marketing capabilities. Did I get that
Yeah.
right?
Yes, as you were saying that, it reminds me of something, marketing can mean various different things to people. Branding, meaning that we have the logos, depends with the logos in the conference room when the clients come in, whatever it might be. I had a firm
Yep.
yesterday and I was facilitating their weekly meeting, and the attorney mentioned a few times, he goes, well, guys, you need to pay attention more to details because I noticed when I walked in the conference room, our branded video wasn't playing on the screen. They have every detail in that office, in the conference room, from the client experience. Marketing does not stop past getting a lead. Marketing needs to emulate and echo through everything from, prosperous imaging and how you're dressed and what have you. And they all glossed over it. I'm like, whoa, whoa, big time out. Like, this is a big deal. This could make or break it. And it's interesting because I said, just out of curiosity, how many appointments was it? And he goes, just two. I go, did you get hired by those two? And he's like, no. And I go, I don't want to hear any other reason, but the only one I could come to is the experience. The Disney experience wasn't there. The candles weren't lit, the aromatherapy with our signature event, and the video, our signature video that walks us through what it means to be a client in this firm was not playing.
Makes total sense. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It's all of the elements of marketing that adds up, and there there are many different elements to marketing, but the client experience is definitely one of them that can have a huge impact. So we look at ways in which firms can build their brand and differentiate themselves because we are in a very saturated market, particularly for legal services. So, what are your thoughts on whether a law firm's team members should actually try to build their own brand, both online and in person, as opposed to relying on the firm's branding, and how that can help them?
That's a great question, and it is one that it can be sticky and tricky at times. I think it depends on the position, number one, and how long the person's been there. I've had firms that have that's part of the 90-day onboarding, and you need to be out there promoting the firm, but then also out there doing community outreach, make sure everybody knows that you're the client success coordinator or the life care coordinator within the firm, and you don't really know this person. You're still in the honeymoon phase. So I say, figure it out. Maybe after a year onboarding, you can introduce that. And once you have tried, tested, proven metrics that the person is the right person within the firm, I think slow your roll with that one. And then I think it really depends on the position. I try not to breathe fear in the room. I try not to come from scarcity mentality, but marketing coordinators, community outreach coordinators, paralegals, things of that nature. Absolutely. I believe in them having, and I've seen many of them do it very, very well. As long as it's standardized in some regard and has that, that stamp of approval on it if they're going to be doing a personal brand that is also pointing back and connecting back to the law firm. Because I have heard some horror stories, unfortunately, of firms that have adopted that. And then, there's this whole thing that's out there, and I'm just going to name it about people, leaving and starting their own shingle and then bringing all the clients and things of that nature. So for me, I guess it really depends. Make certain that you have a human being with the emotional intelligence, that they're a lifetime person there, that they have the proven track record.
So, I mean, if they were to go that route, not with the intention of leaving a firm, but becoming more a rainmaker at the firm, which ultimately helps the firm when they have team members that are out there and bringing in new business. And if they were to do that, what do you think are some of the best strategies they could use to start bringing in new business?
Especially if they're going to be a rainmaker, I am a huge fan of community outreach and breaking bread and building power partners. So the firms that I work with are typically always OPP, speaking on other people's platforms and providing free education and information, things of that nature. Some of my estate planning and Medicaid attorneys will have their community outreach or associate attorney going in there and facilitating bingo every week and sponsoring all the gifts for the event coordinators because they're budgeted to that nature, where by and large you're hitting one to one, but one to many as well.
100%. So speaking on stages, I think is still, whether it's online or in person, is still the number one tool out there for legal, financial, mediation experts to just grow their practices and build their brand. But there's a way and a process to do it right so that they're, spreading their message at scale, but also doing it effectively so that they're actually bringing in new business. So I
Yeah.
totally am aligned with that and really believe in what you call OPP, which I love that acronym.
Yeah, and you bring up
What?
one point I just want to mention.
Yeah.
Whoever's out there rainmaking, this is why I like to bring the front of the house, a marketing coordinator, client service coordinator, intake. Whatever you're doing, it needs to be communicated, and there needs to be accountability, trackability, and measurability attached to it, right? Because sometimes we get in the habit where I'm the rainmaker, so I'm out there golfing every day, or I'm out there speaking or what have you, but we want to make certain that what we're doing brings back business and it's impactful. So just making certain whatever you're doing that you're tracking it and measuring it and looking at it. And if it's not producing results of any kind within the respectable amount of time, 6 months or 1 year or what have you, that we kill it and move on to another strategy.
I think just tweaking, reviewing, looking at the analytics, and then deciding what can we do differently, or is it time to just shelve it, right? Like no longer use it. But I think looking at the analytics and really understanding what could we do to improve this, or what could we do to change this to get better results, I think is an important step before actually putting it aside and saying it doesn't work anymore. Because I think
Mm.
that's also a big mistake a lot of professionals make is they'll try something once and they'll say, oh gosh, that didn't work, so I think I'll put that aside and try something else. And then they're after the next shiny object. So, yes, totally agree that we've got to really analyze it and understand how do we make it better before we put it away. What are the biggest mistakes that you see law firms make with respect to retaining talent? And I'd love for you to just share maybe a couple of the top two biggest mistakes.
As far as
Interesting.
retaining,
Mhm.
here's the thing. We have to treat our people, our HR, our talent acquisition like marketing and sales. So we have to consistently be re-enrolling our team on why they want to be here, why they want to stay here. We want to make it a place. My favorite emails when I send out to people, I'll use this subject line because we all know subject line is king. I'll use the subject line that says, are you happy? Are you being treated well? And are you being paid what you're worth? If not, let's talk. And it's so great when I will have people that will reply and say, hey, no, I really loved your subject line, but no thanks. I'm incredibly happy where I'm at. I want to find that law firm and say, whatever you're doing, 10x it. Keep doing it because your people won't even talk to a recruiter. Even when then I basically told them I'll give them whatever they want. And so that's so gratifying for an owner to hear that, where they won't even consider wasting their time talking to a recruiter for a better opportunity. So for retention, you have to pour into your people. Remember, you're hiring human beings first, human doing seconds. What do human beings need at the very core of their essence? Time, attention, and feedback. What do attorneys and professionals and entrepreneurs in C-suite have limited resources in? Time, attention, and feedback. They're not leaving for more money. They're not leaving for Cadillac benefits. They're not leaving for profit sharing. They are leaving because they're ignored. Or the only time that they hear from you is when things have gone south. And it's not a very pretty conversation. So consistent, persistent communication, that's hardwired. My law firms, I make them do a weekly stakeholders meeting because I believe everybody who works in the law firm is a stakeholder, and their mindset and their energy and their entrepreneurship of their job. I make them do a daily huddle. It doesn't necessarily have to have the business owner operator, but somebody who is a critical team member and team leader checking in on the pulse, what's working, what's not working, what worked yesterday, where do you need help, what are your top 3 priorities for today, where do you anticipate to get jammed up? Literally a military stand-up meeting that lasts no more than 15 minutes. You do not get a plan to win a Super Bowl champion game and just make a plan and then just go full throttle on the field. Nope. You have timeout, you have halftime, you have locker room huddle before, you have locker room huddle after, you watch film after the game to see what worked, what didn't work, to make the revisions you were just talking about. And we need to give that same thing that we would with a marketing strategy, a business plan to our people. And when you give people time, attention, and feedback, and you give them an opportunity for growth, and you give them, and I don't mean just money, you give them an opportunity for their voice and their insight in the job that they're sitting in, which probably none of us ever sat in because we've never been the receptionist. We've never been the legal assistant or whatever it might be, especially if it's a newly created position. They'll never leave you.
Love that. That's golden advice, Molly. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure our listeners will gain so much knowledge from that. I love the way you put it into perspective and how it can really make a difference.
Mm.
So, team is everything, but it's the effort that the management, the owners, the founders of the firms put in to keep and nurture those relationships. So, great advice. Awesome. What do you think are some of the biggest marketing mistakes you see law firms making?
You mentioned one is that they kill things too quick. And so they don't see instant gratification and results, and they are making knee jerk reactions based on emotions and fear versus data, information, and analytics. So I would say, first and foremost, before you deploy anything, whether you're spending money or no money, if it's organic, what have you, is that you're very, very clear on, by and large, what results you anticipate to get from this. And number 2, what you're going to do to track and measure it every single week. That's a second mistake. I cannot tell you how many businesses, law firms in particular, that I talk to. I'm like, when's your weekly marketing meeting? They're like, we don't have one. Like every single solitary week, you need a weekly marketing meeting, same place, same time, with an agenda. The attorney doesn't have to run it. Have your client service coordinator, your marketing coordinator, intake coordinator, where you're looking at the data and the information analytics. Yes, yesterday's news, as I call it, but you're also working on your marketing plan. You're reviewing blogs or the things that you never can get to, and they become a bottleneck, whether it's launching a new website. I can't tell you how many firms create these strategic plans, then they start to deploy them, and then they come to a screeching halt because it becomes so overwhelming and soul crushing, especially for a business owner and entrepreneur. A lot of attorneys don't have a marketing degree. They don't really understand it. That's why they hire professionals. But then a lot of times the professionals will do the website or make the brochure, whatever the copy or the email marketing, and then send it to them and they freeze because they're like, I don't know what I'm looking at. Like, I don't like this subject line, but it doesn't matter if I don't like it. Why did you pick this one? Why does it convert? So, my whole rule of thumb in marketing is touch it once. So when you create the plan and the plan gets deployed, make certain that you have hardwired time for your attorney if they need to give the final stamp of approval in their calendar every single week. And somebody take ownership of it, where you're coming in and you're bringing it with them. You have it printed out. Most attorneys I work with still like pen and paper, and they want to highlight it and red line it and all that. So speak into their listening in a way that makes a difference for them and gets them take action and to get moving on the strategies. So it's really that they're not giving it the proper time and attention that it needs to 1% and 2% every single week.
I love the idea of the weekly marketing meeting, regrouping and just keeping everything on track so that you are implementing that marketing plan. Such valuable advice for sure. Any parting thoughts for us today, Molly?
When it comes to building a personal services or personal brand business, I think this message has come clear. Your people are really dying to take things off your plate. They're dying for the permission to lead. I hear this from employees, whether it be VAs overseas. I hire a lot of overseas virtual assistants, or W-2 or in-house or whatever it might be, that they want more. They want to be a difference maker. They want to be a value creator, and they want to be an everyday hero. So if you hire right, trust that your people can 80% most things for you. And so include them. People want to be included and part of. And then again, once you give them your vision, your direction, and they take the ball and run with it, make certain you have a follow-up meeting so you can review it. And then you can also build your confidence that they are competent to handle it, because your job at that point should be for coaching, mentorship, direction, and redirection. When you build a business like that, there's really no need to manage people. You're just leading them.
Where can our listeners find out more about you, Molly?
Yeah, the easiest way probably is to go to our website, hiringandempowering.com. You can see there we have our published books that I've written there. Also, we drop a podcast every single week, pocket coaching every Saturday. I've been blogging for 18 years, and so a lot of value add information that I like to put in like a pocket coaching modality that can give you that booster shot every single week. So probably just subscribe there so you could get on our list and receive those goodies in your inbox.
Fabulous. Well, we're going to put all the links in the show notes so that people can access all this information. Thank you so much for joining us today, Molly, and really sharing your incredible insights, which I know our listeners will absolutely love and find
Oh,
it so valuable. And I'm just so grateful for you taking the time and sharing your expertise and the passion that you bring to helping legal professionals thrive. So thank you again for being part of the show, Molly.
thank you for having me.